These Russian hackers got access to sensitive parts of the White House email system. They could even see the president's schedule, the non-public parts of it in real time. And they got access to all of this in a clever way through the State Department. Once they got in there, they used that access to trick someone to get him into the executive office of the president.
Seats, please, as we begin the arena. She is a CNBC contributor, a New York Times bestselling author, radio host, and will be using her considerable clout to get all the restrooms working at Wrigley Field before the end of this season. Let's welcome back Carol Roth. And joined by the executive director of the Independent Women's Forum, contributing author of Lean Together, contributor at Forbes.com, Sabrina Schaeffer. Ladies, thank you so much for being here today.
Delighted to be here, Ed.
Sabrina, I wasn't sure which baseball team that I could use when I was talking about the Chicago Cubs. I wasn't sure. So just to make sure we get it out front right here, which baseball team are you a fan of, Sabrina?
I'm probably still a fan of my hometown Dodgers.
Okay, good. All right. We just had to make sure now.
Actually, well, Ed, if we're correcting things, I'm actually a White Sox fan.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Then you don't have to worry. Everything is good in Chicago as far as Carol is concerned, but she will still take care of what's happening in Chicago. All right, ladies, let's get serious. Carol, I'm going to go ahead and start with you on this one because this is frightening. The video now everybody has seen from South Carolina. This makes everybody think of an execution and a flat-out murder, and people are just starting to wonder what's happening with our law enforcement. Carol.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody wants to know what's happening, but more importantly, what is going to be done. I can't imagine anybody has seen this video and isn't completely sickened and horrified by what happened. The fact that you had somebody who was fleeing and was shot 8 times in the back, not shot to stop, but clearly shot to kill from my perspective, and then what appeared to be the planting of evidence. This is exactly what so many people have been outraged about and have been complaining about, and now we have some real video that's backing this up, and there needs to be some accountability, but more importantly, not just a conversation, but some action plans to how we're going to stop this from happening in the future.
And isn't it maybe, Sabrina, as we look at this, and I'm not trying to minimize this, and I'm not trying to bring anything less than what the level of discourse is, and that we have to discuss this. But at the end of the day, this might actually be a positive because it will help us root out the bad cops, root out the ones that are the problems right here, know that they are basically being held accountable on a 24/7 basis. And if there's only a few bad ones, let's get them out of the system. And this is what has to happen. Would you not agree?
Well, I certainly think that that is a first step, but I think that there is a larger sort of root problem to all of this, and that is that our law enforcement is no longer there to serve and protect. Right? So often our law enforcement is there to be revenue generators. They are there to catch otherwise good people doing something wrong. And it seems more and more we have so many taxes and regulations and requirements that even the best of citizens. Let's remember that this young man was pulled over for a taillight that was out. This is one of those instances where you say, gosh, did the so-called crime warrant this kind of abuse, and in this case, death. So I think that more and more we need to be asking ourselves, are we asking too much of average Americans to be something that they simply cannot be?
Well, I think that's a fair point. And Carol, because we now have a lot of people who basically are saying the exact same thing Sabrina is saying, and that's they're looking to collect too much money here. The cops have gotten away from the basic job of protecting and serving. But then there's also going to be the other side who'll say, wait a minute, you still need to take care of these things to make sure that people don't break the laws. You know how that goes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think it's something that's going to stop soon. If you look at the state and local municipalities, they need revenue, and so they're going to be doing everything they can to increase that instead of decreasing that. So I don't think that making a campaign to scale that effort back is the way to do it. I think there needs to be new training, new procedures. I mean, I certainly can't imagine in any police department across the country that you have a situation where you tell a police officer that it's okay to shoot to kill instead of shoot to stop in a situation like this. But as much as the revenue argument is certainly a good one, I just don't think it's a realistic one given the financial state of so many municipalities, and I'm not going to drag Chicago into the mix of this, but like Chicago around the country.
Well, I'll tell you what, hold on to that thought about Chicago, because we do have to talk about your once and future mayor and what that all has to do with everything as well. Plus, ladies, please stand by for a moment. Carol Roth and Sabrina Schaeffer are going to come back, and when we do, we're going to focus focus a little bit on what is happening in Washington, D.C., because you and I both know that those of us who use the internet, you go to your email, you see something that looks fishy, it looks a little odd, what do? You don't click on it. Why? Because you probably are smarter than a sixth grader, or maybe someone who's 6 years of age. However, it would seem that those at the White House haven't quite learned that yet, because the Russians went fishing and look what they caught. Plus Chicago, plus a lot more. The Arena continues right here on MidPoint. All right, back into the Arena. CNBC contributor, New York Times bestselling author, White Sox fan, Carol Roth, and executive director of the Independent Women's Forum, contributing author of Lean Together, Dodgers fan, Sabrina Schaeffer. There, I feel so much better now. I got it all right. Sabrina, let's go ahead and start with you. And I mentioned this just before the break. I don't know about you, but I don't really click on anything that I think might be suspicious when it comes down to email. But it turns out the Russians are sending things to the White House. Somebody there apparently just decided to click on something. It's called phishing, whatever you want to call it. Bang. All of a sudden, you've got the Russians now infiltrating the White House computers. I'm just going to be real honest. How can anybody be this stupid in this day and age?
Right, it is surprising right now, especially in the wake of the sort of Sony attacks, which were just fodder for the gossip pages that anyone in the White House would have made this mistake. But we're all human, so I guess we, hopefully it's sort of a call to action for just how serious these cyber attacks are becoming, not only for us, privately, but for private industry and as well as government and national security. It's becoming an increasing threat that we really must face head on.
What have we got to do to drill it into people's heads, though, Sabrina? Because I know you speak to a lot of people. We all use social media a lot. It would seem that it's a fairly intelligent thing to say and to do, the simple little thing, because no matter how we talk about all the software we need, it still comes down many ways to simple human error.
Right, of course. I mean, all of us need to be better at protecting ourselves, but I think one thing that resonates with people is the cost. The cost of intellectual property theft each year, $250 billion to the economy. That is more than the federal income tax, the impact of the federal income tax. So I think that people need to sort of realize what's at stake, and then they need to do more to sort of set those privacy settings and make sure they're extra vigilant and being careful.
All right, Carol, so do I need to back off just a little bit and stop calling people names and say, wait a minute, everybody makes mistakes? Gee, although it seems we get a story like this every third day.
So you mean the Nigerian prince who wants to give me $250 million isn't telling the truth? Is that what you're trying to tell me,
Are you telling me?
Because I was counting
you
on
too?
that. I was counting on that money.
Does that mean that we have to share this money
I was counting
now?
on that money. Well, we can be partners, and I'm not a greedy person. We can share. But yeah, I mean, this is completely ridiculous. The thing that concerns me, like you said, is that this is such an obvious attempt. There are very sophisticated attempts that are going on that have permeated some of our large financial institutions that I think could be really huge threats. Probably the biggest threat that we're facing in the United States right now, at least from a home turf standpoint. But the fact that this is something that you've got somebody clicking on a phishing email, it just goes to speak to the type of people we're able to attract in government. And I think being the greatest nation in the entire world that's in charge of a $3 trillion plus revenue budget every year, the fact that these are the people that we're attracting really says something. And we need to figure out a way to attract better talent into our government if we're going to count on them for anything. Otherwise, we should not count on them for anything.
Oh, Sabrina, I saw you laugh at that one. Sabrina, you go right ahead. I'm giving you a retort on this. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm with Carol. I just think that we should probably retract the size of government. They shouldn't be doing so much. We don't have a bottom line in government. We're never going to get the kind of talent that you get in the private marketplace, so better to sort of take some of that responsibility away. Still, all that being said, I mean, I am sort of shocked, and it goes to the point of just how sophisticated some of these hackers are getting, that they are able to fool someone in the White House who, whether I disagree with them on policy or not, are generally pretty bright people.
I got about 90 seconds before we take another break. A U.S. soldier reported killed in insider shooting in Afghanistan. Sabrina, unfortunately, with 10,000 plus soldiers there in Afghanistan, I fear that we are going to see a lot more of these stories no matter what we say here.
Yeah, I think absolutely that the country was, had war fatigue. I understand everybody who wanted to pull out of Afghanistan as well as Iraq, but I think that it's becoming more and more clear that we didn't have a solid exit plan, and puts it into sort of sharp relief why we need presidential candidates now who really have a clear foreign policy vision, who have a sense of what we're up against in terms of the threat in the Middle East. And
but doesn't this also talk to us about the kind of people who are there? Because not everybody wants us there, and you have people there in that country who are willing to kill us.
No, absolutely. And I think that it's very sad to consider that the thousands of men who did lose their lives there may have done so in vain because we simply don't have a hold of that country.
Carol, is there any answer here whatsoever? I mean, we keep talking about the fact that we've got troops there. They're going to be there for a long time, another one dead. And there are people right now who I think have resigned themselves to the fact that by the time all three of us here have gray hair and are ready for the next level, if you will, of future existence, we'll still be fighting this war.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is for the people who are on the ground today. I can only say for future endeavors that we need to go all in or we don't go in at all. And I think that our entire foreign policy stance has not been exact enough. We need to have a very clear plan up front, what we're trying to accomplish. We need to get it done and we need to get out. End of story.
I think the next thing that we'll have to discuss one day is, do all of us trust whomever the next president is to get us out of all these situations in a very quick and efficient time? Because I could see a lot of us shaking our heads no at this point already, and if we ever did get into that conversation. Hang on, ladies. We're going to come back in just a moment. Carol Roth and Sabrina Schaeffer will join us. When we do come back, he is the latest to say that he wants to be president of the United States. And the manner with which he wants you to help fund his campaign, well, let's just say I've got all the flip-flops that I need. It's coming up next right here on The Arena. Back into The Arena, CNBC contributor, New York Times best-selling author Carol Roth, executive director of the Independent Women's Forum, contributing author of Lean Together, Sabrina Schaeffer. Carol, you first. Here's a double-pointed question for you. A, is Rand Paul electable? And B, how quickly are you going to run to his website right now and buy the $100 bag toss game?
All right, so A, no, and B, I'm going to just have to say the king of all premiums, especially in the political front, are the George H.W. Bush striped socks that you can get from the RNC. I think they're like orange and blue and green. They're amazing. So nothing really beats that. But I do give Rand Paul some credit in trying to go after the younger crowd with some of these tchotchkes, like the NSA webcam spy cover and the Beats by Dre
But isn't that mocking the whole presidency here, Carol? Come on, isn't that mocking the presidency?
Nothing says hip-hop quite like Rand Paul. Wouldn't you agree, Ed?
No, I would probably not agree with that, because when I look at Rand Paul, I don't immediately think of hip-hop, nor do I think of getting down, if you will, getting funky. I don't think of that, if you will. But I do want to point out that there are socks available on it, just in case you are wondering. There are tube socks. Sabrina, I see the $20.60 Rand Paul eye chart and all this. I don't know. This just kind of smacks of telling people here, buy some junk just so I can become president. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, no, I mean, I do agree with Carol that I think that this is Paul trying to differentiate himself from the rest of the GOP pack. He has been willing to reach out to groups that are not usually associated with the GOP fold. So younger voters, women, African Americans, and to his credit, he's been doing a pretty good job at that. And it's a good example because, look, if you looked at Mitt Romney's website and what he was selling, when it came to women, what they were selling, they had some aprons that said, like moms for Mitt.
Binders. They were selling binders, Sabrina, right?
They were selling binders. I didn't have a problem with the binders, but I did have a problem with that. It was so limiting. I like to have choices.
The difference in electability. Here you go. And oh yeah, by the way, both of you, get off my lawn. Now let's go ahead and move on to something else here. Near and dear to Carol's heart, I guess. Rahm Emanuel has been reelected as the Chicago mayor in the runoff. Wait a minute. I thought Rahm Emanuel was doing such a terrible job. Why is he still mayor then, Carol?
Because we had no choices. Had I known it was so easy to run for mayor in Chicago, I would have run for mayor. I mean, who ever knew we were going to be in this situation where you have Rahm, who, although I disagree with him politically, I do like him personally, and he did inherit quite the mess in Chicago, so I'll at least give him that. But then you had this other gentleman, Shuey Garcia, who was really a puppet of the unions, and if you watched any of his commercials, I mean, he couldn't even string a line together with the teleprompter. So it was not the time to take the moral stand, given where Chicago is fiscally and otherwise. It was not time to try and take the stand and say, well, Rahm, you didn't really do a great job, so on principle, we're not going to elect you, because we didn't have a good option. So, I was all in at that point. Once it came down to the runoff, it was like Rahm all the time, every day.
Sabrina, I guess the thing here with this is people are going to look at Rahm Emanuel and go, okay, let's see. He used to be with President Obama, big Democrat, good-looking guy. Wait. 2016, 2020, 2024? Are we looking at the beginning, possibly, of setting the stage for Rahm Emanuel president?
Gosh, say it ain't so. I mean, that's horrible. But no, I think Carol asked a good question earlier, why we can't attract more good people to the government. I would say, why can't we attract more good people to run for office? And then this is, it's concerning that a city as wonderful, Chicago, and I love Chicago, can't find someone who's better, can't find more of a leader, someone who really does want to unite the country. I think that Rahm Emanuel was sort of talking out of both sides of his mouth. On one hand, there was sort of class warfare. On the other hand, there was, I'm going to unite this city. So I think that it would be wonderful if we could find some individuals who are willing to go through the spectacle of running for office and who would take on that challenge. But I can understand and I can sympathize with why so many people choose not to.
And we could also understand exactly how Rahm Emanuel fits Chicago. And I know I'm going to get letters from my friends in Chicago, and Carol would probably agree with me on this one as well. Interesting, here we have a number of right-wing groups, and I do want to point out there's a lot of people in here from different websites, including our good friends at Politichicks, Morgan Brittany, Dr. Gina Loudon, Anne-Marie Morell. They have all signed this petition, basically saying to Apple, because of what you said, if you feel so strong about gay rights and gay citizens, you need to pull your business out of Nigeria, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Iran until they stop torturing their gay citizens. What do you think, Sabrina?
This is so interesting, and I just was on a panel with those friends at Politichicks, so I'm interested to hear that they're involved with this. I think what it kind of brings to light is that Silicon Valley didn't used to be very politically engaged or politically unified in any way, and in recent years, especially with some of these sort of core social issues like gay marriage, they have become much more vocal. Let's just remember the incident with the former Mozilla CEO, where there was a lot of pressure on this man who had given a $1,000 donation in favor of Proposition 8, which sort of defined marriages between a man and a woman. There is a lot less sort of tolerance. And I think it's interesting that we're now seeing that groups are saying, okay, well, we need to have a more honest conversation if you want to get involved here.
Is it hypocrisy, though?
It is concerning because, how are we defining diversity? Is it diversity of opinions? Are people allowed to have different viewpoints? I sure hope they can. This is the land of innovation out in Silicon Valley, and I would hope that it could be the land of ideas as well.
By the way, ladies, I'm just going to interrupt very briefly and tell you I've just been told that they have reached a verdict in the Boston Marathon bombing trial. We do not have the verdict yet. We're still waiting for it. So let me just get a quick reaction. Sabrina, undoubtedly they're going to find this guy guilty, but should he be put to death?
Oh, I would think so, but I'll reserve judgment till I hear more.
All right, Carol, to you.
I mean, absolutely. I can't imagine what took them so long to deliberate. And, if it were up to me, I'm very strict about these kinds of things. I would not only put him to death, I'd bring him out to the middle of Times Square and do it in front of everybody.
I think you'd probably have a lot of people who would be willing to help you on this. By the way, Carol, I wanted to get your take on this because I know we talked about the Apple issue as well, and I interrupted you there. But this strikes a lot of people as being very hypocritical, standing on one side of the issue and not following up on the other side because money's involved on the other side.
Yeah, no, I was actually one of the people who brought this to light on CNBC last week, and it is very hypocritical, and I think it points to why it's so dangerous for businesses to get involved in political discourse, because just because you're taking a stand in one place, you have to be willing to back up that stand in every single scenario. And certainly, I don't think that Tim Cook went through those mental gymnastics to go, oh, wait, this opens up this can of worms over here. So I think that hopefully what this will do will at least shed a light for some of these business leaders to say, if you're going to take a stand, then you need to take a stand across the board, and you can't be cherry picking where you take that stand. Across
the board. Ladies, we are all out of time. I thank you so much. I got my baseball teams right. An excellent edition of The Arena. Carol Roth and Sabrina Schaeffer, thank you so much. I'll look forward to talking to you both again soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, take care, everybody. A rough week ahead. Tornadoes expected in the South and Midwest. Severe weather? Guess what? Here comes summertime. Here's your Newsmax weather update.
Hey, I'm Jessica Reyes with your weather from coast to coast, and we'll start off by the northwestern portion, a lot milder for today. For your Wednesday, some rain into the Four Corners, but drier by the state of California, mainly sunny into Los Angeles, even into Las Vegas. And then we've got the severe thunderstorms that keep pushing through into parts of Texas, pushing northward into Oklahoma and even into Arkansas, bringing with it showers and thunderstorms. Until Wednesday evening and into Thursday night, we're expecting a low pressure to continue pushing up, lots of rain into the Great Lakes area. And then by the southwestern portion of the country, even into the Gulf of Mexico, a lot warmer for today, with daytime highs reaching the lower 80s. By the northwestern portion of the country, we are in for a soggy one. Lots of rain and possible travel delays. Here are some of your daytime highs for your Wednesday.
Once again, the developing news that we are following for you. We are told, and it is now making the rounds on different forms of media, that the jury has reached a verdict in the Dzhokhar Tsarnaev case, that is the Boston Marathon case. We will cover that and let you know as soon as it happens. Stay with us. MidPoint continues.